All right, all right. Greetings, greetings. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. We're now going live. Welcome, welcome. The topic of this video is open forum update. Am I still here? Question mark. Yes, I intend to let you all know, give you guys a brief update. Those who continue to follow the channel, those who still support Dorsey's Resource, continue to rock with me. Want to say thank you. Big shout out to you all, even the new subs that I still continue to receive despite my previous video where I went over the shadow banning that has taken place throughout the years. And without further ado, as usual, before we get into the topic of discussion, this video is not to be construed as legal advice. Any event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged you do so on one's own leisure. This video is for educational, informational purposes only. Please keep in mind everyone is responsible for their own commercial affairs. Dorsey's Resource Channel is not liable or responsible for anyone's misuse of the information. I encourage everyone to please do their own homework and research into what is being discussed if you have further questions. All rights are reserved. Now, I just wanted to give you all an update. I'm still here. I have been in the background. In case you're wondering, I had a subscriber reach out to me. Had a good discussion that asked me some things about years past, the event I went through, and about that particular card that I had. They said they had some information for me, and I did get a chance to speak with them originally. Um, in case they're listening or they check out this video, understand it may take me a while to get back with them. I have been busy doing other things behind the scenes, as I may have already mentioned. By the way, I've offered my time, a lot of powerful information that I've gone over in the past for absolutely free of charge. I was invited not too long ago to two Telegram groups. By the way, that's where I had been sometimes. Some of you all may recognize me when I go on other platforms. I get inboxes or messages from people. I appreciate you all that are familiar with me or say my voice sounds familiar or they've heard of me before, by the way. And I did message back the majority of those people. I also got, let's say, a lot of maybe potential spam messages, by the way, which I normally don't get, but because I guess there's people that are into like this, similar to multi-level marketing promotions and stuff. I've been getting these messages lately. I think I see where there's a pattern where they're going, but I understand where they're coming from. The problem is trying to determine whether or not some accounts are legitimate, because I am aware of catfishing and things, and you should be careful anytime when you're dealing with social media. By the way, I've gone over this before, and it's a reason in the past, in case you guys may not be aware, why I decided to go public with that event that I attended years ago. That was because a friend of mine encouraged me to. At the time, I did not originally intend to, and I stick to that story originally because I gave it some thought and I used to discuss it many years ago. And I originally followed all the rules and things of that sort before we were just being strung along throughout the years with false promises, false hopes, and false dreams. I had to eventually get a hold of myself and do something different, by the way. And excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather, have sinuses, or you could say allergy season is here. So if you hear me sniffling, please understand, by the way. But I just wanted to come before you all, give you all an update as far as what's going on, because I have some subscribers that do have my personal contact information, reach out to me, but I have been extremely busy. I've been dealing with another situation. I won't go into the details because sometimes I don't really want my personal business out there, because I have warned you all. I would like to be more open sometimes, but there are uh, predators. There's very bad people out there. Like I said, you have to watch out with these catfishing things. That's where someone will use a profile and pretend to be you, or use a photo, pretend to be someone else to try to lure people into whatever it may be. If it's a crypto scam or whatever scam, so watch out for those. I encourage people to do their due diligence. By the way, even be careful when you read your emails. Make sure that it's coming from an official source. If it's a big company or a big bank, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to normally email you unless there's something serious. Now, you can get emails that are legit from these big institutions or different companies, but what's important is to check the description of the the format that it came in, and check the actual company online to see what format that they send their emails in. And then oftentimes they'll many cases send emails to customers, but you can, like if it's a bank statement or things of that sort or other things. I actually this was rare. I received a phone call during the day. This may have been sometime last year. I can't remember. It surprised me because it easily could have seemed like a scam if I hadn't answered the phone. But my bank was actually calling me to warn me that there was someone in Calabasas, California, that was trying to withdraw $1,000 from one of my bank accounts and transfer it over to Zelle. And they said they were tracking them in live time. This was after I had alerts set up with the particular institution that I'm with. By the way, I didn't go into details, but I had a separate incident prior to that a couple summers ago. I didn't follow through. I still have the information where someone used one of my debit cards to buy some CBD gummies down in Florida. And they actually lived a couple streets away from me. I was getting ready to pursue legal action against them, and I easily still can report them to the postal inspectors. And I did something called a postal intercept. I know it probably freaked them out. I would have had to pay like just $15. I wanted to piss them off, but the sad thing I learned from this situation is, and many other people who have been through identity theft and things or scams, is that these big credit card companies could be doing a lot more to prevent these things. And they, a lot of times, because they're similar to the banks, they make so much money, they just brush it off. But a lot of customers are people that have been hurt really bad. So sometimes the companies will collude with the people who, or they won't do more to help protect the customer or the consumer. For example, the place where, when I had to figure out the person that purchased the CBD oil, they used my name, my full name, but the trick of it is they used a different email address. So that's how I was able to prove to my bank that it did not come from me, of course. And they did the transaction over the weekend, by the way. So that's why it took me longer. It was harder for me to track it, because normally the transactions from the weekend, they don't clear till Monday. By the time I caught it at that time, it's different sometimes for the bank if they can do stop payment or intercept the transaction. But in the meantime, since I did catch it early, I was able to do something called a postal intercept. But the problem is that when I did it a second time and I contacted when I found out which place they specifically purchased it from, because this company had multiple locations. They had a location in Arizona as well. And the person over the phone who could have actually, that worked for this company, it could have been colluding with the criminal con artists, whoever they were, that was impersonating and used my identity, was trying to encourage me, saying that since I got the money back from my bank, that they still wanted to send that person the product. And I'm saying they should not be able to receive that at all. They committed fraud. And I should have, at that time, followed through. I didn't file a police report yet, but I did find out. A lot of people don't know this. If anything like that ever happens to you, you can always contact the postal inspectors. By the way, just present all your evidence, your banking statements, and your notes and everything, which I still have, by the way.
always have supporting documentation. And I know someone that used to work for the post office, and they even will investigate internal things that's happened, because I've even had incident where people, someone in my apartment building, and there were years apart, where there was someone opening mail packages, and then there was another incident where we had some bad mail carriers who were colluding, and I spoke to a supervisor at the station that was linked to my area, by the way, and I threatened to contact the postmaster general if this wasn't clear. And the different instances throughout the years, I actually found out some years later. I didn't know this originally, that I ended up finding out I knew someone that worked out of that same station, and told me, gave me some inside baseball as to what was going on when I had a package that was scanned, delivered, but it actually didn't make it there, because I believe what happened at the time, and I didn't realize it. It was only at because this person encouraged me to at the time. They said you never should send cash in the mail. Normally, what people do is they cover it up. But when I did the transaction, it was with me and another party that was trying to get something authenticated when we first learned about this information back in 2014. And I believe the clerk at the time, I remember what she looks like. She saw me put the money inside, and what they were doing, I had to pick up on this. They used to always, like, say they were encouraged the customers to do signature delivery. And there was a ploy trick with that. So they were monitoring, watching, and they saw me put, and they may have known, especially around the holidays, people send cash and stuff like that to relatives. I used to years ago, from aunties or relatives, great aunties, really nice stuff like that. They'll put it inside like a like a birthday card, or put that inside an envelope, or wrap it up, or fold it up in a way. But at this particular time, what they did was they scanned it, and it had, when I tracked it, it had two different delivery dates, which exposed immediately there was fraud, because when you're dealing with the post office, they're very good at tracking things internally. So eventually, down the road, to make a long story short, I could tell there was an incident, and even there was a customer that came in one day, because there's a big thing in the Black community where people say, "Oh, you're snitching, or you're telling too much." But when there's people being harmed or hurt, there's unspoken rules. You have to tell someone. Don't let anyone make you ever feel guilty, like you're doing something wrong, because people who are criminals, con artists, manipulative people will try to make it where they'll try to make things up and say, "Oh, so they can keep doing what they're doing." And like I say, when someone is harmed, so what happened one day is a brother I didn't know came in out the blue, because around this particular time period, a lot of people said they weren't receiving their mail. It was coming up missing, and a brother came in. He heard my story. He was in the back of the line. I didn't know this guy at all. He's definitely a street dude. I appreciate him. Real cool, because I had to be very assertive and firm with this clerk at the time. This was a different clerk, and she was acting kind of shady. And the brother came in and said, "Hey, bro, they're stealing your packages." And he said this in front of a long line of people. He said, "Hey, bro, I'm telling you, they're stealing your packages, bro. They're stealing." Because it was a lot of people. I was coming up there quite a bit to this particular station, and they kept, I was hearing different stories from people. So I've learned things throughout the years. These are some of the stupid, idiotic things I've had to go throughout the years. And the area where I live at, where doing business as, because you have to be careful when you're contracting, saying you're a resident. That's a whole nother story, and that is a contract, by the way. Some of you all that know about that, but I'm just sharing this story. I had intended in the past. I was thinking about doing a video how to warn people about certain con artists, scam artists. So just be careful out there. There's a lot of these phishing emails. They call it catfishing. Catfishing can be in different ways. You can look up what it is. There's videos to warn you about it on YouTube, by the way. And at the same time, I also encourage you all to get real information from the alternative media, because there's a big crackdown where the members of the ruling class elite are trying to covertly pass this so-called legislation called the TikTok bill, which is actually not about banning TikTok. I found out it's more. I didn't know this originally. It's more to this. They actually want to go after people who they consider influencers or content creators, of people that have alternative media, um, web hosting platforms that have 1 million subscribers or more. They're saying so they can try to arbitrarily label something as misinformation and violate freedom of speech, even violate other laws, antitrust laws. By the way, we already have laws on the books, uh, very good laws, but these big tech companies that have colluded, I call them big tech bullies. By the way, they're a bunch of bullies, and yes, they have bullied people. If you watch my previous video I did about the shadow banning, that is very real. That's been going on a long time. Over time, there's the rise of artificial intelligence, where they've got the algorithms and things of that sort picking up, certain words that they don't want. But remember, at the end of the day, hate speech is speech that they don't agree with. By the way, whenever you hear that term, hate speech being used, you have to understand, no matter what side of the aisle you're on politically, I always encourage my subscribers. You guys remember when I used to say this in a lot of my older videos. I encourage you all to use your own critical thinking. That's why in many of my disclaimers, I encourage everyone, I say, please do your own homework and research. Don't trust what I say. But if you research what I'm saying and you look into it, you will find the validity and credibility of what I'm going over is backed up, by the way. But I always encourage one to do their own research. And I also say everyone's individual circumstance or situation is different. Everybody's circumstance is different. Like when I was on this Telegram call, there was, this guy's the moderator of the call, by the way, has a thing about the Minnesota DBA versus these other processes that people do in the redemption movement. What may work for one may not work for another. But what I was just simply trying to add or trying to bring to the table is another aspect I was sharing. I'm very well studied. I've been studying since 2004. And I know that many people that are still operating through their social security number that don't have a DBA at all, I was just simply trying to imply, and it would not hurt you if you do have a Minnesota DBA. You need to get rid of your voter registration and don't be an organ donor. Those are adhesion contracts, and I have valid documents that can back that up that were written by credible people. There's even websites you can still find these documents on. I had to share this with people to show you how well studied I am, how I researched, because some people didn't even know this. You can look those documents, look up the names of the authors that wrote those PDF files. This is what I've done to show you how good I am. I looked them up and found the websites. So this notion that one process is one size fits all is just want people to understand. Minnesota DBA process is very powerful, but you also should file, if you're going to do that, make sure you file in your birth state and you file wherever you're doing business locally. Now, I have not done that yet, the Minnesota DBA specifically, but I have done filings in my birth state, Ohio. I'm currently doing business as. I have some loose ends to take care of in Michigan, by the way. But there's other things I've done in the past. But remember, when your corporation moves, when you move, it's just like if you have an LLC or business, and say if that business moved from California to Texas, then you need to file paperwork in Texas. Or if it moved from New York to Michigan, then you have filing in New York, but you need to file that in Michigan. Just like the state says, because they like to say your name is a corporation, so you're going by that same concept. And Jonah Bey was one of the first people, by the way, I have to give credit to, that made that information go viral, who a lot of people don't give credit to for publicly when the authentication went viral. That was back in 2014. And he also mentioned there was other people before him, but he was one of the main people before it gained momentum, just like Christopher Hauser, that shared that with numerous groups of people. And that's when the information really went viral from that point on while a lot of people were doing that. But just keep in mind, if you're going to do a Minnesota DBA, then you need to also file one for your estate. You need to file one for any tax ID number of the other entities you have. By the way, if you're going by that same rule concept, and when you move, you need to file wherever you're doing business at, wherever you're what's the term where you're dwelling at? Because I don't want to use resident, because there's a trick with the words, but wherever your territory is. So the gentleman, some people don't like the fact that I mentioned about canceling the voter registration, because when you get really deep into it, there's a difference between registration and recording. Registration is public, recording is more private. And see, because on the public side, they've captured the the statutory side through the codes and things. They don't tell people about the affidavit vote anymore, stuff like that. They want you to register, and they tell you it's easy, and it's just as easy to cancel it. Because another thing I noticed, this group was saying that you don't want to do too much paperwork, but at the same time, you have to ask the question: do you want to be free? Because paperwork, I know it's important to understand and be able to stand on that paperwork, and they emphasize standing. But there is paperwork. There's a number of documents. If you file into the record correctly and you have it reflect on the record, it will let the record show that you are on the do not detain list. And when you remove yourself from certain contracts, it does not mean that you're going to lose necessarily benefits. But what you're doing, you have to ask the question: is that corporation giving you a cut or portion of the money? Because you can have a Minnesota DBA, but are you still broke? Are you still working a 9-to-5 job? Because if you are, okay, you may be protected in a sense. If you go to court, the police pull you over. But there used to be a saying, gentleman used to tell us at a class years ago I used to attend, about the Moors and stuff. He said they like to talk a lot of jargon and paperwork, but he said you want to be a broke Moor, or are you going to go after the finances? So I questioned the gentleman: are you also showing people how to get access to the funding? Because ultimately, sovereignty and becoming free is being self-governed. And when you have access to the money, the funding, the currency, then you have more options. You have true freedom. You can truly be not free and dumb, but you can be free, by the way. So let me add that in. The individual didn't let me finish making my points, my full points. They kept cutting in, by the way. But I just want to say that to clear on the record. And, it's really neither here nor there, but just to put it out there as an example, I'm very, very well studied. I've been studying this information since 2004. And I always say there's numerous different processes, and I'm never poo-poo that process at all. But it's important to have an open mind. And there's other paperwork you may need that's just as important and even more powerful, and things that can get you access to the money. And it's not difficult. They try to make it sound like you have to do these long drawn processes. And I said, you simply can do a little bit at a time. I've done a little bit at a time throughout the years. And I said, it's very easy. Just find your local Department of Elections in your state, and they have to give you a copy of your request for canceling your voter registration. It's no different than when companies tell you, they give you the option to opt out, or banks, and you read those disclosure agreements, and they say, do you want to opt in or opt out? And this is what is happening. A lot of times people haven't learned civics class. They haven't learned true commerce, which they used to teach in years past. A lot of times people nowadays are being dumbed down through the public food system, the educational system. They're not teaching people what I'm going over with you is what the elites teach their children, or what the elites learn, how they operate in the private, by the way, because they understand everything. The contract is king. We deal with contracts. I learned this many years ago. Big shout out to Don Mancuso. At the time, I don't know if he's still out of the Nevada area, but an elite group that I study out of in the city of Detroit many years ago that got information they used to have at the classes I used to attend, and I got a hold of it. My cousin gave me a copy and I listened to it, and he talked about everything that you get involved with daily in terms of commerce. You can operate in contracts and not even be aware. Even when you go to the fast food restaurant, that's a form of a contract. When you go to the grocery store, and he went into more details of how these companies, through marketing, how they study what people like. You tendered a form of payment. You did this, how they were basic forms of contract involved, by the way. So you have to keep that in mind when you are attached to these contracts. They also can be secretly pulling you in. They're also called invisible contracts, not just adhesion contracts, but invisible contracts. And that's why I also mentioned, I know for a fact, not just the voter registration, but being an organ donor is tied. The organ registry is tied to the how they gain territorial jurisdiction over one. And let me say that again: the voter registration and being an organ donor is how they gain territorial jurisdiction over one. So it will behoove you to get rid of those things. That's what the sister that woke me up many years ago, and it was very easy. I hadn't done nothing else, but that was the first thing I did. First step. And I found out this process is the same for people that live in England and Canada, because I've had people overseas ask me, is get rid of your voter registration. So that's how they get acquiescence, because they've done these secret agreements that you didn't fully read or wasn't fully disclosed to you, and they're making you a corporate entity, or then they're tying you in. They're saying when you agree to a driver's license, you've read the entire motor vehicle code and you understand it and you can recite it by heart. There's like a clause in there. They're saying, and the states have a treaty with one another. They're saying this is how they can pull when people have committed commercial crimes in different states or regions, how they can pull them in their particular jurisdiction. By the way, just some basic things. I'm not all the way out, but this is just some real information. And so it wouldn't hurt to have this in your arsenal, along with the Minnesota DBA. I'm saying it's excellent, it's very powerful, but that's not the only thing I will want to have done. I will want to have some other things under my belt as well, and then also be able to access the funding, so you're not broke. Like this gentleman used to say years ago, you don't want to be a broke Moor. He said a lot of Moors are broke. They can spit all these lines. They be out in the street like the Hebrew Israelites, reciting stuff. But what good is it, when you're getting evicted from your place, or you can't pay for your rent or your mortgage payment, or you don't even know how to get out of that situation. But if you at least had the funding, you would have been able to have more options involved. Just something to think about. But I digress. That's neither here nor there. I'm going to read some of the comments in here. Says Frankie Fawcett says, Dorsey, what's up? Miss hearing from you. X Mass says hi. Says, what do you think about Venezuela currency? I have currency from Venezuela, live in USA, and I bank with Wells Fargo. I don't have any. I think it's called the Bolivar currency. I know someone who mentioned, they told me they purchased some. I haven't personally, in case you're wondering, but I heard it's going to allegedly do really well. But we won't know until the reset happens, because you guys obviously know somebody up there, the powers that be that control that. The cabal has been holding that up for years. I just got confirmation again recently, and I said this before. The dinar was supposed to happen a long time ago, numerous times. And I just found a receipt, because the dinar is connected at the hip with the Vietnamese dong, and that Chase Bank used to sell it. And I found a receipt that from Chase Bank, and it had and there's also to prove that this is real, these currencies are real. I also have a currency booklet. You guys can look it up if you know how to do research to prove the credibility. And if you still can, there was a gentleman mentioned, he used to go in the bank years ago and ask for this particular book if you want to verify if these currencies are legitimate. Just like I was talking about scams and stuff earlier, there's a booklet that lists the world currencies, what security features or things they have on them, what to look for, and things. So we're just still waiting. We're waiting for whoever is going to release. Once they give the okay down the road, that's what we're waiting on. But like I say, you have to do things in the meantime. Chi Vegas says, peace, Dorsey, and chat love. Oh, appreciate you, Chi. Thank you for joining.
Jackson Tommy says, why you not on Bill call? Interesting. Says he's live right now on Telegram. Says brother Bill, the only one that gets remedy out here.
Okay. No, that's not true. I've been studying since 2004. He's not the only one out there that gets
Remedy, Tommy.
there's a numerous group of people. He's not the one that originated that information either, about the Minnesota DBA. There's you have Jonah Bay, there's Akeem L out there that's credible. There's Life of the Beneficiary. I know many of you all know right now, since she put her YouTube channel out there, and to show proof, the fact that her YouTube channel, and big shout out to, they didn't ask me, I haven't met her personally, but I found out through a friend, through someone that I know, allegedly knows her, and that's all I'm gonna say for the time being. But what her and Caleb are doing, when they have I just checked one of their TikTok pages, they have over 160,000 people that follow them. And I was having a talk with several people. If they weren't putting out good information, because I think Rob said on Bill's call while I was on, tried to say Tamika's stuff doesn't work. I don't know where Rob's been lately, if he was one of her earlier groups, but she's way hella more advanced than Bill's. Matter of fact, I had some people that messaged me, by the way, I guess they heard me on the call and were asking me questions and things. And if I'm not able to answer them, I had one of my sources I met up with a couple days ago, a day or two ago, and I helped that person, and I referred them to Tamika, which Rob put her name out there. She went by the name Life of the Beneficiary or whatever. But I said she's more knowledgeable than all these guys. There's numerous people out there that are credible, and like I said, Minnesota DBA is really powerful. I'm not knocking it. I mean, I'm learning more. Midwest's channel has talked about it, which I've referred a lot of subscribers. Some of my subscribers watch Midwest. There's a ton of people who teach Taekwon X's process is powerful. I would say he's up there with Bill. But there's a bunch of other heavy hitters. Tommy Jackson or Jackson Tommy, if you're still watching or listening out there, by the way. So I'm doing my own thing. I've been doing my own thing. I've had this channel for quite a while. By the way, I've given out a lot of free information throughout the years. I still have a plethora of files, and I'm also working on things privately, because I had people over there asking me, and I said no, because a friend of mine that knows how to get access to the funding and is really advanced, he doesn't want to stampede of people. Not saying, I think he did mention down the road he would be able to take on clients and things. He's had clients for other things, knows how to do a lot of things, but he doesn't want to stampede of people, because a lot of people just want free information and they want people to do a lot of paperwork for them. So I'm willing to pay for things, even though I'm a content creator, influencer myself. I've paid for webinars to get information that have been good, and I'm still studying. And I've seen people's successes. I've had people tell me their success stories, their experiences. Big shout out to Path to Freedom, that group over there. I tell people, that's not a coincidence. They had over 160,000 people that just follow one of their TikTok pages. That page that Caleb had, Ignorance is Bliss. That tells you that if people are that hungry for the information, that Tamika was booked up. I heard someone even inbox me. I didn't even know this, and said that she had no more slots available. And I don't know, I can't say about now, but I know the last time I checked, I just went and looked at it. That tells me that someone's that knowledgeable, that that's credible. That shows credibility. And I know there's people that listen to me, and just off my word, they know I'm not. I don't just make stuff up, and they know I'm really good at networking. Even if I'm not knowledgeable in a particular category, it's people that will listen to me and say, "Hey, Dorsey said check out that person," and they won't even tell me. They won't give me credit for it. That's fine, because I'm trying to empower people, and they'll go over to the other person's channel just off the strength of, because that's how credible I am. But when I find a way to start my Patreon or market certain information down the road, I'm going to have better quality information and things. I'm going to share more exclusively, which I still do with people that I personally know. I don't go into all those details. because I don't want to be flooded with a bunch of people. I'm still on this graveyard shift for a number of years, and I'm not a white person, a Caucasian person. I'm no offense, but I think white people, it's easier for them to monetize a lot because they have a stronger fan base. A lot of my own people, sadly, a lot of my own black people just don't support one another like that. So that's another reason why I don't feel the need to go live or go give as much information sometimes, because I said, if you guys want to see this channel grow, then show me the love and support. But if not, then, I don't have to be doing this. And other people mention the same thing or giving valuable information, documents and things. I have tons of documents, but in the meantime, the update that I want to give you guys, because I don't want to get off track. I just wanted to come and give you guys this update that to let you know that down the road I may plan on having, eventually once I'm in a better position to start maybe a Patreon or something like that. But I want to make sure that I would be consistent if I was to do something like that, because I know you guys want to see consistent videos and really good content and things. And I have stuff written up behind the scenes I haven't put out there yet, just in case for future reference, by the way. And in the meantime, I'm studying. I won't go into the details. Some really powerful information. That's all I can say behind the scenes. So I may not be going live as much, but I just wanted to let you all know I'm still here and I'm doing my own thing. I'm going to study on my own terms. And I'm working on, my biggest thing is getting funded, because a lot of people in this movement, and I can do a separate video about this. The ruling class elite are using the banking system as a weapon. Debt is their weapon. So a lot of people are doing different processes and things, and still at the end of the day, it boils down to if they had the currency to get the right to pay the right people who that knows how to properly process the paperwork, or their bills, which they use debt to keep us inundated with until they can learn how to do the asset transfer or securities transfer. They're going to have a tough time getting out of the situation they're in. And people have full-time family, kids, all type of things going on. You can't, what time is like. Now, some people, a lot of times people that are financially free, they're able to have the luxury, or certain people have certain types of jobs that allow them to have the luxury of not having to be boggled down with their time or stressed out. I'm not making really any money off this. The only little bit of chump change that I get is from my Google AdSense revenue, and it's been drastically demonetized to a large degree. And it's not because I'm not talented or things. I don't do videos of clout chasing like people do, gossip videos, celebrity videos. I could easily do those things. However, I want to talk about things I feel that are more important. By the way, I wanted to put something together years ago when I decided to create this channel. So I just wanted to let you guys know I'm still here, and down the road, you will know, and you also know where to find me. I'm also on Rumble, by the way, just in case anything happens. But over here, I always encourage you guys to get on other social media platforms as well, other than YouTube. I mentioned Rumble. There's alternatives to Twitter. There's Getter. There's True Social. Parler is back. Still around. There's Minds.com. Minds.com, by the way. I mentioned Getter. Getter is spelled Gettr. Getter is good. You have Frank Speech. That's Mike Lindell's platform. There's True Social. That's Trump's platform. TrueSocial.com. Then Elon ever since he bought Twitter, it's a lot more fair. They changed the algorithm around, because I told you guys before Elon bought Twitter, my feed was seriously, I wasn't getting the reach like I used to. But ever since he purchased it, I noticed my posts were getting what they really truly should reflect, what it appears as though I was getting more views the proper views I'm supposed to get. Whereas before, I was being suppressed by the artificial intelligence like I am on YouTube. That's why I did the previous video being shadow banned. So I encourage you guys, if you want to see this channel grow, you want to see the content get put out there, then share my videos. Tell people about them, by the way. That's how you see the content grow. Go back and watch my old videos where I had some really hot content. Just put it out there, by the way. But I didn't want this video to be too long. I'm going to read the rest of the comments and I'm going to jump off here. Steve Stein says, greetings, Dorsey. Steve Stein says, greetings, Hadruple Sosa. Marquez says, yes, sir. Hadruple Sosa says, to me, you're the Midwest reporter. Thank you. Six Gonzalez says, the Bolivar goes like this. Before 2008 was the first series Bolivar from 1 to 50,000. Okay. Yeah, I heard about that particular currency. It's going to do well in the recent. I have not gotten any, but I do have a source that told me a while ago they purchased some. But guys, we're still waiting, and it's similar like the cryptocurrencies or stocks. Whether you're waiting for a particular stock price to shoot up in value so you can turn a profit or become a millionaire. Whoever somebody at the top is holding up the dinar has been for years. It was supposed to go a long time ago, and that's one of my top sources mentioned recently. I was surprised he actually said it because I've known about this for a while. TNT even mentioned it. I've never even met before. Other sources mentioned it was supposed to go a long time ago. I had a banker in New York I spoke with privately told me the U.S. Treasury was holding it up. I don't know who's responsible, but I just know there's someone at the top, by the way. And you can obviously see why they're doing what they're doing. It's pretty obvious. They want to keep people. When you saw what happened, I mentioned the GameStop thing when with Robinhood, when that incident took place, when they made people forced them to sell their share stock when it was rising in value, so people couldn't turn a profit. And a good friend of mine said that let him know that they didn't want people becoming wealthy. They wanted to keep people poor, suffering. So you just got to continue to just be patient, hold out, and do what you need to do in the meantime to become more advanced, to learn, to get yourself financially free or in a position to invest, to do what you can. We can't give up. And I haven't certainly given up either. So with that fight, I just continue to encourage you guys. The marathon will continue. Legends never die. They stay in our hearts. And until next time, peace out. I'm out. I'll read this last comment. Says, Chief Vegas says, I wish some of the gurus stopped giving dates, which has not been true. Yeah. Well, thank you for that comment, Chi. I'm out. Appreciate you guys for joining me. Till next time. Take care.